You were told DNA testing was about family, ancestry, and health. But the truth is, your genetic privacy has already collapsed and your DNA has been sold to pharmaceutical companies. Think about that for a moment. Your identity, your family line, even your future children are now data points in a database. Unlike a password, you can't change your genome. Once it's mapped, sold, or stolen, it's permanent. Companies like 23andMe and Ancestry convinced millions of people to spit in a tube for entertainment. The marketing was clever. Discover your roots. Get personalized health advice. Connect with long lost relatives. But behind the glossy packaging, the DNA wasn't just tested, it was stored, it was shared, and in many cases, it was sold. In 2018, 23andMe signed a deal with GlaxoSmithKline, one of the world's largest pharmaceutical corporations, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The promise? Exclusive access to the world's largest DNA database. Millions of people's genetic material handed over to Big Pharma to fuel drug development, patents, and profit. Did the customers who mailed in their saliva understand that? Some probably glanced at the fine print, but most had no idea. And here's the betrayal. Once your DNA is in a system like that, it isn't yours anymore. It's not private. It's not protected. It's an asset, leveraged, mined, and monetized by corporations who see you not as a person, but as a product. And it doesn't stop with pharma. Law enforcement has dipped into these databases too. Police have used genealogy sites like GED Match to identify suspects by tracking their relatives. It started with cold case breakthroughs like catching the Golden State Killer. That was hailed as a success, but soon it expanded. Without your consent, your DNA or your cousin's DNA could land your entire family tree in a police file. Now stop and think about this. You never uploaded your genetic material. You never agreed to be part of the system. But because your relative wanted to know if they were 12% Irish, your entire family line is now coded, cross-referenced, and searchable. Privacy didn't just collapse for individuals, it collapsed for families, for generations. And insurers? They see opportunity too. Your DNA can reveal predispositions to disease, cancer, heart conditions, mental health disorders. Imagine an insurer quietly raising your premium because the algorithm predicts you're high risk, not because you're sick, but because your genes make you a liability. That's not medicine, that's discrimination baked into data. Here's the part no one wants to admit. DNA is forever. You can change your phone number, you can reset your password, but you can't swap out your genome. Once it's compromised for life. Once it's sold, you can't buy it back. Once it's shared, you can't hide it again. Your DNA is the ultimate key, the code to who you are, who you were, and who you will be. And that code has been handed to corporations whose only loyalty is to profit. This isn't about helping you, it's about controlling you. When pharma corporations own the largest genetic databases on Earth, they own the blueprint for humanity itself. They don't just see diseases, they see dollar signs. They don't just see risks, they see patents, drugs, and monopolies. And all of it starts with you paying them for the privilege of stealing what you can't replace. Here's where it gets darker. Governments and global institutions talk openly about the future of precision medicine and predictive genetics. The idea is that one day treatment, access, and even basic services could be tied to your genetic profile. That means the wrong markers in your DNA don't just raise your insurance bill, they could restrict your access to jobs, healthcare, or even travel. This isn't science fiction. This is policy in motion. And unlike credit cards or ID numbers, your DNA doesn't just identify you. It ties you to your family, your children, your grandchildren. It's not just your sovereignty being erased. It's the sovereignty of your bloodline. The collapse of DNA privacy isn't an accident. It's design. Corporations and governments didn't stumble into this. They built it. They engineered it. They marketed it as fun, as helpful, as progress. And people lined up not realizing they were handing over their most intimate possession. So where does that leave you? if your DNA is already in one of these databases, the reality is you can't take it back. But what you can do is understand what's been lost and how it's being used against you. You can refuse to participate in the next phase. You can demand accountability, transparency, and limits on how this data is stored, sold, and weaponized. Because DNA isn't just data, it's destiny. And once it's collapsed into corporate databases, sold to pharma, or handed to governments, your sovereignty over your own body disappears. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't bad management. DNA privacy didn't fail. It was collapsed on purpose to turn your body into property and your genes into gold. Subscribe if you want to keep pulling the mask off the systems that turn every part of your life, even your body, into a product for profit. Would you trust a company with your DNA, or should genetic testing be banned from corporate hands entirely? I'd like to hear from you. Please leave your answers below.